Hey there, fans. Co-host of Ring Post Daily, Awesome One Joey here, and we are back with another Retro Raw review. So let's get right into it, into this fourth episode of Monday Night Raw. It was February 1st, 1993, held in the Manhattan Center at New York City. Let's dive right into it. So we start the fourth episode of Raw off with an impactful match between Tatanka and Damian Demenzo. It was a good beginning to Raw. The fans were behind Tatanka. Everyone enjoyed seeing him come out and do his skit, do his deal. And it was a very, very decent match at best, but it did its job. It got the fans over. It started off Raw pretty good. And Tatanka, with going out there, having the fans cheering for him, excited. That's what you're supposed to do as a superstar. You're supposed to go out there and get the fans pumped up and ready for an episode of Raw. And even though this match didn't last long, the fans didn't seem to mind that. It was more of a, let's get things pumped up, let's get things going. And that's what this match did. So, because Tatanka did put on a decent showing for the fans and gave them their fix of wanting to see him, and, you know, that fix of wanting to start off Raw in a good, positive way, gets it up in my book. So then we get on to our next segment. Brutus the Barber Beefcake returns for an interview with Vince McMahon after a life-threatening injury. Now, this gets an up for me because Beefcake came out and he poured his heart out to the fans. In a time where kayfabe was meant to be kept alive and never broken, he broke that fourth wall and talked about real details that was going on in his real life outside the ring. He talked about the death of his mom and the death of his dad. He talked about the divorce that him and his wife was going through. And then he talks about this face-crushing, life-threatening injury that he sustained. And a superstar today that we know preaches the good word, never give up. That's what he was pretty much saying he learned within this time of healing and everything. He said, yes, I'm going through multiple deaths in the family. Yes, my marriage is crumbling. Yes, I went through a life-threatening injury, but I wanted to return to the ring. That was my goal, and that's what I'm doing. And he set out an open challenge to any superstar on the roster and said, you challenge me, I will accept. So he came out and really poured his heart out to the fans, really kept us in the loop of where he's been and what he's been going through. And to come back so strong-like, so willing to get back in the ring and be there for the fans, you know. This is an interview where the fans were actually in awe. They were in shock. They felt what he was saying was real, because it was real. And because he put his entire life outside of the ring on the microphone for fans to hear and understand where he's been and what he's been going through, because he was able to use that and bring it into his professional wrestling career and say, hey, I may have been gone, but I'm not gone for good. I'm coming back and I want to face anyone. All you gotta do is accept the challenge. Hey, Beefcake, you get it up from me. Welcome back on this episode of Monday Night Raw. Now, the next match is High Energy, which is Owen Hart and Coco Beware versus Mike Sharp and a wrestler that was known in ECW and WCW. A wrestler that came back to WWE between 2006 and 2007. Vito. You know, the guy who wore the dresses and everything. This match gets a down for me. First off, this match was only 1 minute and 31 seconds long, okay? Now, if you're an Owen Hart fan or a Coco Beware fan, this is not a match that you want to look up. This match was literally long enough where if you wanted to walk out of your living room and go get a pop out of the refrigerator and come back, it was done. It was over. You missed it. It was a literally blink of the eye and you miss type of situation. This would not be on an Owen Hart or Coco Beware DVD set. This would not be on a best of WWE DVD set. And I don't even know if this would be in the worst of WWE DVD set. This match is not worth watching. This is not a match that fans pay to see at Monday Night Raw. This is not a match that you pay to go to a WWE event and see. I've seen squash matches go longer than this. This match ended in piss poor fashion. Whoever drew this match up should have been fired, because a 1.5-minute long match is just not doable, and that's why it gets a down. So the next match we get goes on for 3 minutes and 10 seconds. A little bit longer than the second match, but Doink the Clown defeats Typhoon of the Natural Disasters. And I'm giving this a down, because Doink defeating Typhoon, it looked weak for Typhoon. He was a big man. A man of his size does not go out there and lose to a clown. And in just 3 minutes. I mean, no. This match was another piss poor, drawn out match. Doink gets an up for me, though, because although the match wasn't the best, it did show off some of the great wrestling skills of Doink. For those who don't know about Doink the Clown, he actually was a pretty decent wrestler. He had the takedowns. He had the takedowns and stuff you'd see Kurt Angle and Bret Hart doing. He was a great technical wrestler, don't get me wrong. The technical wrestling of Doink showing in the match gets an up. But the match itself and how easy he was able to take down a big man like Typhoon gets a down. The next segment gets an up, but it's a sad segment. We do a 10-bell salute to the late, great Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant, who at this time recently passed away. We had Howard Finkel come out and pretty much say how great of a guy he was, how much he meant to the sport of wrestling. They did a 10-bell salute, and it was just really respectful. You know, Andre the Giant being the first ever WWE Hall of Famer, and well-deserved. This 10-bell salute was a great way to honor the Giant, who did so much for the business, who did so much by putting Hulkamania over. It was a sad moment, yes, but WWE, you get an up for paying your respects to the big man. So the next match we get is Yokozuna defeating jobber Bobby DeVito. This match, according to my records, lasted 2 minutes. Now, first off, this gets a down from me, because Yokozuna just won the Royal Rumble match. He just became the Royal Rumble winner, the first Rumble winner to be guaranteed a WWE World Championship match in the main event of WrestleMania. And we get this. Yokozuna being the Rumble winner, he should have been out there facing legit competitors, proving why he's the Rumble winner, proving why he's the #1 contender at WrestleMania for the WWE title. And instead, we get a 2-minute squash match against somebody the fans forgot the name of 5 seconds after WWE said his name. The reason this gets a down for me is because it was a weak match for Yokozuna, who just won the Royal Rumble match not even 2 weeks ago. So this match gets a down, and hopefully within the upcoming weeks we see more dominant, a more dominant Yokozuna facing more noticeable, more recognizable competitors other than jobbers that end in 2 minutes. And if the Yokozuna match couldn't get any worse, Hacksaw Jim Duggan calls in on the telephone, talks to commentary, discusses a challenge that he has for Yokozuna. Now he says, I challenge Yokozuna to a match, blah, 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 and If he's man enough, he'll accept it. He'll accept it. He'll face me. The reason this gets a down is because I don't know what was going on the telephone end, but you could barely hear Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You couldn't piece out what the man was saying. He was cutting out. It sounded like it was going in and coming out, going in and coming out. I mean, it sounded like this guy was going through a freaking tunnel. And just not being able to understand what he was saying gets a down, because I understand what WWE was trying to do. They're trying to put on a crappy match in the ring, but they're also trying to sell the fans at home on this challenge that Hacksaw Jim Duggan offered to Yokozuna. But when the fans at home can't even understand Hacksaw Jim Duggan on the phone, it's a waste of time. They should have known within the first sentence of him talking, this ain't working out, let's cut it short. No, they played it off as, hey, this is a great segment. You gotta hear what Hacksaw's saying. You can't hear what he's saying, so it gets a down. And then we get a Money Inc. interview at ringside with Vince McMahon. $1 Million Man and IRS, the tag team champions at this time. They come out and they talk trash about Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who just came back from an injury and all these personal problems, as we discussed earlier. And they're pretty much saying, cry me a river, man. Your sob story ain't working on us. And they flip a coin. IRS and $1 Million Man. They flip a coin to see who would end up facing Beefcake in his open challenge match, and it turns out to be the $1 Million Man. And Jimmy Hart comes out and says, guys, you have to think, man, if one of y'all gets injured or something happens to you, not only is your career over, but so is your title reign. You lose the titles. We have to go back to the back and talk about matches and sign contracts and this and that. It gets an up because Beefcake, who just returned, looking to challenge some of the toughest guys WWE has. And you're talking about $1 Million Man here, who, you know, flipped the coin and it landed on heads, and he apparently won the right to accept this challenge. But it gets an up because it's bringing Beefcake back into the mix. It's bringing him into a storyline. Sure, he's not in the world title picture yet, but he's just returning to Raw in an interview saying, I want to face the best. I'm back. I accept the challenge from anyone. This gives him his way into the ring again. He doesn't just go into a match that makes no sense. This gives him a reason. Now he's got some heat against $1 Million Man and IRS. Now he's got some heat against him because he can say, oh, well, you talked about my story and called it this and that. You called it a sob story. You downplayed it. You sit there and talk trash to me. Well, not only are you accepting my challenge, but I'm accepting the challenge to kick your butt. This was a great way to get Beefcake back into the ring as soon as possible. Gets it up for me. And the main event is Lex Luger defeating jobber Jason Knight. This match went for about 2.5 minutes, and it was a squash match. But let me explain to you why this squash match gets an up. If you go back and watch the Retro RAW reviews that we've already done, episode RAW 1, 2, 3, and this current one, a lot of the squash matches sucked. They were lame. They shouldn't have happened. There should have been better matches in them spots. But with us just now getting the debut of the narcissist Lex Luger, this match served him well. This match is what a squash match should be. Lex Luger comes out looking in the mirror, just worshiping himself and all his muscles. And this match was done right because Luger's first match on Raw, and he's basically going out there to show you his physique. He's going out there to show you his strength. He's going out there to sell you his gimmick. And this is what you want out of a squash match. You want to be able to get a feel of the character. You want to be able to understand the character a bit. And him coming out being the narcissist, being all about himself, this match did that. The whole time he's wrestling his opponent, he's looking at his muscles like, yeah, look at me, I'm so sexy, I'm the best looking thing on in the world. And this match might have been a squash match, but it did its job, and that gets an up. Now, the very last thing that I have to talk about on this episode of Monday Night Raw, and it gets an up for me, is Mr. Perfect catches the perfect pass. Now, in a pre-recorded promo with NFL star Steve Jordan, he's sitting here catching all these wonderful throws by Steve Jordan, and he goes, "You ain't seen nothing yet." He stands at one side of the football field, throws the football, and apparently runs down the whole length of the field and catches his own throw. Yes, it was a goofy segment back then, and nowadays, 2004, we don't have Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig here. Yeah, it's a pretty classic promo and segment to go look back on and say, oh, that's classic WWF, that's classic Mr. Perfect. Yeah, you're never going to see anyone do it in front of you. Yeah, if any other wrestler or athlete would have tried to pull this promo off, it probably wouldn't have worked. But it was Mr. Perfect. He was perfect at everything he did, never messed up, never screwed up. Mr. Perfect was perfect. So it just fit his character. No other gimmick or character or athlete could have played that off and made it so believable. Mr. Perfect was so good at this role, and he actually believed in what he said when he said it, that they put this whole thing together, and although it's unrealistic, Mr. Perfect pulls off the perfect pass, and everyone just goes, wow, he is really perfect. And looking back now, 2024, for Curt Hennig, that promo, it was perfect, and it gets an up. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the Retro Raw review for episode 4 of Monday Night Raw. List in the comments what you liked about this episode, what you disagree and agree with me on. And don't forget to check out Ring Post Daily Podcast on Facebook. Very fun podcast. I love being a part of it. And I think you'll love seeing the content and the competitions and the podcast and everything we put out. So check out Ring Post Daily, like and subscribe to this channel, and comment in the comment section on what you think out of all of these matches and segments I'm right about, what I'm wrong about, what you would like to see. That's what the comment section is for. Thanks for watching. Check out Ring Post Daily. Also, one Joey. We'll see you in the next Retro Raw review.